this first comment is just for the students that have me in 2017. I had these switched around, so just look at the bottom of your paper. We're just going to do that part first and then go to the unit circle. So most of you hopefully should have this on the top. We're first going to, so we've looked at the unit circle and kind of just to recap, or looked at the unit circle in quadrant 1. So just to recap, in the unit circle, the hypotenuse equals 1. The adjacent side is just the x coordinate of the point right here, and the opposite side is the y coordinate of the point. So this is x, this is y. So if we were to label this triangle here with theta, if I wanted to find cosine of theta, I would use adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent over hypotenuse is x over 1, which just reduces to x. So cosine of theta is the x coordinate of the point. Sine of theta is opposite over hypotenuse, which is y over 1, so the sine of theta is just the y coordinate of the point. Tangent is y over x, and as we talked previously, that also corresponds to the slope of the angle. So as we look at our unit circle as a whole and then use the unit circle to draw graphs of sine and cosine and tangent, we want to always think of cosine of theta is x on the unit circle, sine of theta is y, and tangent is slope. That's going to help us with understanding the graphs of our trig functions later on. So let's look at the unit circle. I'm going to color code this a bit. I'm going to start out with looking at the 30-degree angle here and making a triangle, realizing, okay, here's my 30-degree reference angle, which is the same as my 30-degree angle. And from the previous page, we saw that this length here was 0.86, or the square root of 3 over 2, and then this length in the y-axis is 0.5, or 1/2. So the coordinates of this point are the square root of 3 over 2, 1/2. Now we mentioned before in the course that any angle that has the same reference angle has the same trig values, except they might be negative instead of positive. So we're going to look at all of the other angles on the unit circle that have the same reference angle. So if we go into quadrant 2 and look for a 30-degree reference angle, we're talking about the angle 150. It also has a 30-degree reference angle. And I'm actually not going to label all of these because it's going to get too crowded on here, but this also has a 30-degree reference angle. Now, if we look at our coordinates, in this case, we're talking about negative 0.86, but still positive 0.5. So if I write the coordinates, negative 0.86 or negative square root of 3 over, this is going to be negative in the x direction, negative square root of 3 over 2, but still a positive 1/2. So that's how the coordinates relate to one another. All right, the x value becomes negative. Now if we go into quadrant 3, we're looking at the angle 210. We make that into a right triangle here, so here's our right triangles. Now the x side is still negative. Now y is also negative, negative 0.5. I'm supposed to say 0.5 there. So that means both coordinates are negative. X is a negative square root of 3 over 2, and y is a negative 1/2. So both coordinates are negative in quadrant 3. In quadrant 4, we're looking at a 330-degree angle that has a 30-degree reference angle. And now we have a positive x value but a negative y value. So our y value here would be negative 0.5. So our two coordinates are going to be square root of 3 over 2 and negative 1/2. So this we have positive, positive, negative, positive, negative, negative, and positive, negative for x and y. And this is going to be the pattern we see for every other point. Just the numbers will be different. So let's look now at 45 degrees. So if we look at 45 degrees, remember that this was the square root of, this is square root of 2 over 2 and square root of 2 over 2 are 0.71. So this is square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2. If we look at the other 45-degree angles, we're going to have the same numbers but different signs. So this is negative square root of 2 over 2 and positive square root of 2 over 2. When we go into quadrant 3, they're both negative. Negative square root of 2 over 2, negative square root of 2 over 2. Then when we go into quadrant 4 and we do 315, x is back to positive, but y stays negative. So square root of 2 over 2 and negative square root of 2 over 2. Last one is the 60. I'm going to change that to green and get this to go down here. So the coordinates switch place from the 30 degrees, so now we have 1/2 square root of 3 over 2. When we go into quadrant 2, the x value becomes negative. Now let me make that a little easier so that I can, I'm going to have to go back and click on my green again, I think. Green and negative. Okay. So we have, I'm having issues with this. Negative 1/2 positive square root of 3 over 2. Okay, when I go down to quadrant 3 now, I'm looking at the angle 240, and they're both negative. Negative 1/2, negative square root of 3 over 2. And then going to 300, x is back to positive, positive 1/2, negative square root of 3 over 2. So there is the unit circle. It has a great deal of symmetry in it. The x coordinates tell us the sine values, and the y coordinates tell us the cosine values. Or sorry, the x coordinates tell us the cosine values, the y coordinates tell us the sine values, and y divided by x is tangent. Now in the next video, you're going to want to have this diagram handy because we are going to refer to this diagram as we work to make graphs for sine, cosine, and tangent now.